Alright, hello and welcome to this video, and another Long Island Railroad update. More problems tonight, this time Amtrak's fault. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the recent article in Newsday, and this has to do with what I was talking about in the last Long Island Railroad update video, is Patrick Nowakowski's excuses for all the problems on the Long Island Railroad. And so I'm going to read to you this article from Newsday. I'll have the link in this video as well. And it is MTA, LIRR's chief's job safe for now, but another top exec quits. So this guy, Bruce Lhota, Senior VP of Engineering, oversaw much of the Long Island Railroad's infrastructure, including tracks, switches, and signals. So MTA Chief Joe Lhota said Wednesday he has no plans to fire Long Island Railroad President Patrick Nowakowski at this time. And I'll give you my thoughts in a minute on that. But another top executive at the railroad has stepped down amid growing criticism from riders and Metropolitan Transportation Authority brass over poor service in recent months. Bruce Pohlot, the railroad's senior vice president of engineering, resigned Wednesday, according to an internal Long Island Railroad memo obtained by Newsday. In 2014, Nowakowski hired Pohlot for the position, which included oversight of much of the Long Island Railroad's infrastructure, such as tracks, switches, signals, bridges, stations, shops, and yards. Pohlot made $223,355 in 2016, according to state records. In the memo, Nowakowski announced that Chris Calvagna would replace Pohlot immediately as acting vice president of engineering. Calvagna has worked for the Long Island Railroad for more than 31 years, most recently as chief engineer of the Maintenance of Way Department, according to the memo. Nowakowski asked Long Island Railroad employees to give Calvagna their full support. A railroad spokesman declined to confirm or comment on the change. Despite hammering Nowakowski earlier this week on the railroad's recent service disruptions, failure to communicate with riders, and lack of urgency, Lhota on Wednesday praised Nowakowski for his work during the so-called Summer of Hell track repairs at Penn Station. Still, Lhota said he was dissatisfied with the Long Island Railroad, which is failing to address known weather-related problems he described as pretty basic things that occur each season. Snow happens in New York. It's just one of those things, and you've got to be prepared for it, Lhota told reporters after Wednesday's MTA board meeting in Manhattan. Leaves fall in New York. We've got to do everything we possibly can to clean it up. Lhota's comments followed criticism from the board, which has begun seeking answers on the railroad's shoddy service. Scott Reckler, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo's hand-picked board member, called the Long Island Railroad's recent level of service totally unacceptable and said it needs to set a new standard for communications between employees internally and among customers. Reckler suggested that the railroad adopt some form of action plan to address the issues, echoing Lhota's call for such a plan modeled on one of for the New York City subways. I find the responses to be inadequate based on the challenges, Reckler said. We have to think about how do we use other approaches to communicate better among our own internal people so that we can communicate better to our customers. And I think that's a standard that needs to be set. Lhota said he and Nowakowski agree that the Long Island Railroad service issues at their source relate to bad management. He understands what needs to be done, and my hope and expectation is that it will get done, Lhota told reporters. After a meeting in December in which the Long Island Railroad delays rose 27% from the previous month and 18 service suspensions in the first 18 days of January, Lhota earlier this month said there needed to be meaningful reforms at the Long Island Railroad, including through a re-evaluation of its staff. The chairman said Wednesday that he's developing a new approach with Nowakowski and MTA Managing Director Ronnie Hakim to address service quality, referring to the service changes forced on the agency after Amtrak announced the need for emergency repairs at Penn during what Cuomo dubbed the Summer of Hell. Lhota said, "Pat did it then, Pat can do it now." All right, so here are my thoughts on this. This sounds completely like Cuomo and Wall Street. I really don't think Lhota likes Nowakowski at all. I think Lhota thinks, I know he doesn't, all right? But what's going on is Lhota just can't do what he wants. It would be nice if he could do whatever the hell he wanted to do, but he can't. And unfortunately, Nowakowski is the buddy of Andrew Cuomo, and even more importantly, the Wall Street people that run our state government and have a huge influence on our state government really love Nowakowski because he's given the Babylon branch the best of everything. Babylon branch, well, may not be great. It's treated the best compared to all the other branches. And that's where a lot of Wall Street people work, and a lot of Wall Street people use that line in the finance sector and all that other stuff. It's the whitest branch, and that is why the Babylon branch, Nowakowski can't go anywhere, and that is why. So in order to get rid of Patrick Nowakowski, get him out, you need a change in Albany, a change in the state. And I think the only way that's going to happen is by voting Cuomo out. And once Cuomo is out, I think that would change a lot of things. It's funny that Cuomo's representative, Cuomo loves to act like he's not part of the problem, but in reality, he is the problem. And this is what's going on. So I really honestly think Lhota would like to get rid of Patrick Nowakowski, but unfortunately, after Lhota opened his mouth and criticized him, Cuomo and his goons went over to Lhota and said, look, you can't do that. Nowakowski's my buddy. I put him in here. We got to make sure those people on the Babylon branch, they're the backbone of our Wall Street. We got to make sure they get to work. The other people that need to commute, they're not as important. We got to make sure that the people on the Babylon branch get to work and get to work comfortably. And that's basically what's going on. At least that's what I think is going on. So now we're going to go ahead and look at some of the Long Island Railroad delays that happened today. And I actually want to start off with last night. We're going to start off with last night when there was that problem, the switch trouble in Long Beach. And one thing I did not look over is all the comments, and I wanted to look over them because to show you what happened here. People had to take taxis. A lot of people had to take taxis, and of course the taxis were loving it. And people were saying service was restored when service wasn't restored. And this is the Long Beach branch. It may be on the South Shore, but it's not the Babylon branch, and that's a big difference. There's a big reason why homes in Long Beach, Island Park, and Oceanside wind up a lot less. It's not desirable for the the preppies, and that's why it's not the Babylon branch. So you got to remember that. It's going to be treated just like the main line and all the other branches. Just because it runs alongside the Babylon branch west of Lynbrook doesn't mean you're on the Babylon branch. You're not on the Babylon branch, guys. You're going to be treated like shit like everybody else is. All right, so you can see the comments here about people having to take an Uber. And then so there's another one here. It was 21 comments on this one when they restored the service. It has been, so why am I on a train running at snail's pace? Just leave the comments, because the comments are kind of tell you really what's going on. And they said, oh, residual delays, and here's another one. I love this comment. Are you paying the $40 cab ride that I had to take to get back to Oceanside? So $40 from Lynbrook to Oceanside, wow. If you don't think taxis are robbing people, I don't know what else to tell you. Absolutely ridiculous. You could have taken the N15, perhaps, depending on where you were going. And then where can I send my... well, in order to get to the N15, you'd have to take the N4 to Rockville Center or a Babylon train to Rockville Center. And you could get the N15 there if you were going toward Long Beach or Island Park. Oceanside is not as close to the bus, and they cut the N36, so that's not... Where can I send my $45 cab expense? And you know why these things happen also. Mr. Cuomo is in bed with the taxi companies, just like Mangano. And a lot of riders bailed at Lynbrook. You owe us for the cost of the car service. Again, lots of problems. Lots of problems. This was last night. Let's go to today's problems, though. Today's problems... there was actually a problem in the morning due to a track condition. Westbound delays into Atlantic Terminal. And again, there's been problems like with Atlantic Terminal like almost every day. And you know what? That Atlantic line is being... let me tell you, when I took it over the summer, the tracks in that tunnel are very rough. I don't know why they never replaced them. Whoops. But I don't know why they never replaced them. But let's take a look at some of these comments here. Possible track condition. We're awaiting paperwork. So, yeah, it's just people are just fed up with the way this railroad is going, and it's all Patrick Nowakowski's fault. It really is, because the railroad never had this amount of problems. So here we go with tonight's problem. There was an Amtrak signal problem in Penn Station. And, of course, they wound up combining some of the flyers. And let's see, I'm sure the Babylon people are going to whine. Whoops, I clicked that again. Let's see them whine. It's not an accommodation when people are unsafely packed in like sardines, sneezing and coughing all over. Well, that's what we deal with on the main line on a regular day, Mr. Babylon Branch Rider. All right, Mr. Preppy. That's what we deal with on a regular day. All right, every day. All right. And see, there were some problems here. Yeah, delays and cancellations due to an Amtrak signal problem. And I don't know why I keep doing that. I should be clicking this. So let's see the comments here we got here. Love it how you wait to tell us we are not a priority to New York Governor Cuomo. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. Cuomo doesn't care about us. Expect a lot more Amtrak delays. And so, yeah, a lot of problems. Amtrak issues. You know, it's constant. I'm just reading all of these. I mean, it's pathetic. And Joe Lhota, I respect you a great deal, but you got to get rid of Nowakowski. I don't care. You know, I mean, if Cuomo fires you, then it's going to be evident what's going on. You know, but you need to do what you need to do. Nowakowski needs to be fired. It needs to be done. And the other guy just took the fall for Nowakowski. Delayed, awaiting track space. This was due to Amtrak, obviously, so big problem. So, yeah, it affected everybody tonight. They canceled a westbound 514 to Long Beach at Penn, canceled at Jamaica, and then it was continued on. So, and then the 605 was. Yeah, let's read these comments. This is gonna be funny. Let's see. Accommodating as always. The 610 was jam-packed. Jam-packed in there. Remember, jam-packed in their mind is not that crowded. You know, jam-packed in their mind is not that crowded. Everything was jam-packed. If there's people standing, they'll call it jam-packed on the Babylon branch. You got to remember that. All right. Yet then they also wound up canceling a Huntington train. Now, interesting. Look at everybody on the Babylon branch wound up complaining, but when they canceled the 630 and combined it with the 635, 630 Huntington train, no complaints. Interesting. No complaints. It's interesting that the people on the Babylon branch will always whine and moan about something, yet the people on the main line, we get fucked daily, all right? And yet, we don't complain. But again, we're not spoiled, preppy, lily white brats, all right? And then, I got a little bit of satisfaction tonight. There was a broken rail on the Babylon branch. That's right, there was a broken rail on the Babylon branch at Merrick. So, we had a broken rail. And of course, tons. How many times has the rail at Merrick been broken? Actually, this is only the first time. This is the first time, preppy lady, or preppy guy, whatever. So, it's you know, but I got a little satisfaction from that. Finally, it's them that has the broken rail. We're always the ones with the broken rail. Always usually at Westbury. That's where there's always a broken rail. All right. They did wind up canceling a reverse peak train on the Babylon branch 740. Because of that broken rail. But look, the broken rail, it seems like it was fixed right away. All right, 15 minutes late due to a broken rail. The broken rail seems to be fixed. I don't see any more problems. So they did fix it within an hour or two. Whereas on the main line, it takes them like half the day. So, again, it's a priority for Patrick Nowakowski, the Babylon branch. Obviously, we can't inconvenience those people. We cannot. They're so important. All right, final thoughts, and that'll be it. Okay, so some of my final thoughts. Obviously, this is stuff that I've spoken about before countless times. Here you're looking at that 605 train pulling in the Merrick, and it's not that crowded. You know, they are treated, ever since Nowakowski took an office, you can notice a significant shift in the railroad. Helena Williams really put an emphasis on the main line. I remember one of our priorities, because she was the president when Hurricane Sandy hit, was we've got to get the main line strengthened because that's our backbone. A hurricane floods the shores, you know, because that would affect the Babylon branch, a really big hurricane. But Nowakowski, all he cares about is the Babylon branch. That's all he cares about. And this is the 605 train. This is what it looks like. This is in Merrick. All right? It's not crowded. Look at all the seats. Sure, a lot of people got off in Merrick, but look at all the seats that are available. You don't see that on the main line. You know, and this is the bias that we're dealing with here at the Long Island Railroad under Patrick Nowakowski. And it's because these people here are very politically connected in this general South Shore Nassau area, very politically connected with the finance industry, banking, Wall Street, and that's why they get the better train service and the better reliability. Although it's not great, their branch gets the best maintenance compared to all the other branches. All right, what do we get to deal with? Well, we get to deal with this. This is what it looks like on a normal day without a problem. Our trains on the main line look like this. All right, this is what they look like. All right, this is crowded. This is what we deal with. The Babylon branch people will complain about it if it happens once in a while. This is what we deal with on a regular basis. And somehow that's okay. But it's not okay for them to deal with it. But it's okay for us to deal with that. And I understand scheduling limitations and all that other stuff. But I think it's pretty evident since Patrick Nowakowski has taken the helm here at the Long Island Railroad that have been more mainline disasters than ever, more mainline messes than ever, and whenever there's a problem on the main line that's serious, it takes a long time to resolve. You know, such as the broken rail that happened back in December around Queens Village. The service was so messed up and it took them so long to fix, yet when there's a broken rail in Babylon branch, it gets fixed pronto. But for the main line, it takes a long time because the crews are always positioned to give priority to the Babylon branch. Mr. Nowakowski, Mr. Lhota, you got to get rid of Nowakowski. He doesn't care about us. You got to stand up to Cuomo. You got to stand up for the riders of the Long Island Railroad. We deserve better. All of us deserve decent service, not just the people on the Babylon branch. And I'm going to continue to speak up about it.